As Dr. Persinger suggests, what causes house hauntings, like the strange goings-on at Wellington's Inverlochy house? First, the story of Inverlochy's ghost.
I mean, when you do your ghost, it's going to be a nice ghost, it's going to be a female ghost.
This art school in central Wellington has a rather unusual source of inspiration.
She made funny noises. She apparently walked up and down the stairs a bit too.
Built 120 years ago as an MP's residence, Inverlochy's had its share of hard times. In the 1970s, it was divided into squalid little flats and was threatened with demolition. In the early 80s, when it became an art school, the presence of something strange and unpleasant became so strong that art classes had to be cancelled.
The smell, it was so rotten, and then if it wasn't so rotten, then it felt so cold.
The strange goings-on seemed to be centred around this staircase and the back of the house, where the original servants' quarters were.
We had all sorts of manifestations. There were several young women here in one class who were really spooked by this feeling and who left. They wouldn't come back, and...
always in this room.
Always in this room.
There was just such an awful atmosphere.
Sfar was having problems with a wood panel he'd nailed securely to a wall.
There was an almighty bang, and they came back, and this sheet of custom wood was lying flat on the floor with all the nails sticking up. Odd, I thought.
The unexplained activity got worse and worse.
Next morning when I came down, I opened the door and I saw that this tub of paper pulp was upside down on the floor and was spread like porridge from wall to wall. I thought, I can't deal with this, so I just closed the door and let it be discovered by somebody else.
The school asked a Catholic priest to exorcise the spirit or spirits. He focused on the upstairs window, which seemed to open by itself.
We looked at the window and he said that he saw a woman there.
Well, the minister thought that possibly there'd been a fire, and this lady sense was in the window, and that she had probably jumped out of the window. And that's probably why the window was always open. But I have a feeling that the minister said that she died in the fire.
We searched the available information on Invaloki House and could find no record of a young woman dying in a fire here. But some other evidence turned up which may confirm part of the story about the priest.
And probably about 2 months later, was it Bruce, your electrician?
Yes.
Bruce. Said, oh my goodness me, after digging back behind several boards, oh, there must have been a bit of a fire way back. So I thought, we thought probably, right.
Yes, yes, I remember that behind the switchboard.
Having identified the problem, the priest continued his work.
So he blessed and sprinkled water and tapu-tapu'd, and he tried to persuade it to leave and go and find peace in its own place. And after that, well, it disappeared for some months.
What I remember most of all is the calmness following that. It was peaceful. Everything seemed to go back to normal. Well, it did for me.
I was just a bit sorry that we didn't have it here anymore. And then it returned and moved into my flat. Well, it was after it reappeared. The door opened downstairs, and then the next thing I noticed was that in this particular little alcove, every night one or other of my glasses or little bottles would start to rattle and vibrate. And if I put my finger on it, another one would start. And it would do that. It went on. I tried to talk to it, to communicate with it, but I didn't manage to break through.
Svar was not the only occupant of this flat to experience strange goings-on. Some years beforehand, in the early 80s, architectural student Martin Hanley and his wife Anna were part of a group squatting in the old building in an attempt to save it from demolition.
If you accidentally went out and there was no one home and they walked in, they'd recovered the house and our tenancy case would be over. So we always made sure that someone stayed home. And on this particular night, the only people left in the house were myself and Anna. And we were just walking through here, standing completely in front of the mirror and debating whether or not on that late bad weather Saturday night anybody really was going to try and take the house back and whether we needed to guard it or not. And we sat down in the living room because we were waiting for something, I can't remember what. And I was sitting just across the other side of the living room there, looking absolutely back this way while Anna was sitting side onto it. And this mirror leapt off the wall, crashed into this door and slid down it. I can still remember it sliding down it. That was so unnatural. Very much we looked at each other and just decided, I don't think we should go out tonight. And rather sheepishly came and retrieved the mirror and looked at the rope. It wasn't broken. Picked it up, put it back on the wall and stayed in.
We asked Dr. Persinger to comment on Inverlochy House. Here, a number of different people had a number of different experiences over a number of years. Smells, bad feelings, apparitions, and so-called poltergeist activity. Dr. Persinger's explanation centres on the fire behind the electrical switchboard. Damage to the wiring, he says, may have disturbed the electrical supply, which could have affected the electromagnetic patterns in the brains of the people in the house.
Well, in the situation such as the Invaloki house, which you've just described, where there were cold spots, odd smells, aversive smells, apparitional phenomena, and a discovered electrical failure that is burning within electrical wires or some kind of current discharge, that's very typical of haunted areas where you have magnetic displays and current inductions that are sufficient to not only influence the brain of the observer, inducing apparitional phenomena, but also to produce glows of light and also to stimulate the brain that's